Many observers and commentators about the South African economy say that if we want to get growth going, we need to develop more and more entrepreneurs in this country. Cape Town-based on-demand cleaning service company SweepSouth has announced a new 10 million rand round of funding, and this follows a thrilling 2015, which was filled with impressive company growth as well as recognition by one of Silicon Valley's most prestigious accelerators, SweepSouth. The Uber of household cleanings entrepreneur Aisha Pandor is also the co-founder of SweepSouth, and she joins us to explore her entrepreneurial journey. She'll also share with us what expanding as a new company comes with and what startups need to consider before saying yes to the check and the journey. Aisha, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Welcome. You share that sentiment that if we really want to get South Africa going, we need to have more and more people become entrepreneurs, start their own businesses?
Absolutely. So I think it's new businesses that will generate new jobs. And if I look at the rate that we are bringing on cleaners and new team members, it's far faster than established companies. So I agree wholeheartedly.
I'll talk about your company in a moment, but you know, just looking at the broader situation in South Africa, it takes a particular kind of person, I think, I would argue, to start a company. It's not just anybody who can do that.
It does, and so while anyone can start a company, to run a company and keep on running a successful company takes a lot of grit. If I think about the word that defines a successful entrepreneur, it's grit, because you go through a lot and there's a lot that you have to kind of plow through on a daily basis. I often say that you fail again and again and again every day, but overall you need to be successful. But
your company, SweepSouth, came about as a result of an inspired moment, I learned, from a frustration that you were experiencing at that time. So frustration led to inspiration.
Yeah, and I think so. So I was in a frame of mind where I could turn frustration into opportunity. So I was working at the time in a corporate job, didn't really like what I was doing, was frustrated with having to answer to someone else, and so this idea came about, and I was ready to accept it as something that I could potentially use to launch my own business.
But now, SweepSouth itself, the concept, how did it come about?
So my co-founder is my husband, and he's the developer, so he's developed the platform right from the ground up, from the first line of code. And we were on holiday together. We were staying in Joburg at the time, both working in corporate, on holiday in Cape Town at my parents' holiday house. And we were looking for someone to help us clean. So we had a 3-year-old daughter, we had a whole lot of family members coming to stay with us, and wanted someone to help us around the house. But our helper at the time was also going to go away on holiday. Yeah. And so we went through this process of looking at classifieds, asking friends on Facebook, you know, desperate for referral for people to help us clean at home. And then eventually we went to agencies, and we weren't really satisfied with the people that we were presented with. People were lowly paid, not really motivated to work, you know, weren't really putting themselves forward as people who wanted to help us out. And so that frustration of finding someone led us to the idea that perhaps there's a platform that we can develop that uses tech that makes this process a lot easier, both for a consumer point of view, as we were, but also for cleaners who are looking for work, who genuinely want to work, and who are looking for opportunities to work in people's homes.
I've heard from people who say, you know, some innovation, we're discussing that, said, you know, to innovate, sometimes you need to borrow from other sectors, right? Yeah. So here you are sitting with a cleaning problem, you are on holiday, and you can't find a cleaner, they're away on holiday or not motivated. And then you look at the taxi system in Uber, and you say, aha, that is a solution. Is that how it came about?
That's how it came about, and I think that's what inspired the idea for the company. So Uber had launched earlier that year in South Africa. We were familiar with it because we'd been in San Francisco and we'd used Lyft and Uber, and really loved the concept and the convenience of it. And so again, the opportunity presented itself, and we had this case that we could use as inspiration for our own idea.
But it's one thing to be inspired, and it's another to bring inspiration to life, right? You need things like cash, you need offices, you need other resources. You were talking about platforms and so on. So were you ready to go once you got this inspiration to start SweepSouth?
To start with, I think the most important thing was having a good co-founder, so a good partner for the business. I think especially a startup that by its nature should be fast growing. You go through really, really high pressure and stressful times in the first few months, if not years. And so it's important to have a good partner. And for me, that partner was my husband, who was not only my husband, but was potentially a good co-founder because he had complementary skills. So whereas I'd been a management consultant and I had the business skills and the HR management skills, he had the technical skills to build the platform. But yes, it was a big leap to actually take it from idea into now we're going to do this full time. And we ended up cashing in our pensions, using all of our savings, our bonuses that we'd received a couple of months before from work.
Who was keen more than the other to get going? Because I can imagine where money is involved and somebody has got to cash a pension and the other party would say, you know, you go first. I'll join you.
We were both equally keen, and I think that was important because as a couple, it had to be a 50-50 decision. We have a child who was 3 at the time, and we had to be okay with the idea of, you know, we might struggle to pay this child's school fees.
Yes.
And my parents said to us, look, guys, if you're going to follow this idea, you've got to be prepared to sell your house, sell your car, and which we eventually did. But, you know, it was a 50-50 decision, and we both said, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it all the way.
And then just talk me through how it started and how you put the whole mechanics together and started recruiting the first few cleaners.
We, so after we'd come up with this experience in December, it was December 2013, we then thought about it, spoke to our family about it, and then we sent out a survey to a couple of friends. And we wanted to determine whether this was something that other people were struggling with as well, people within our network. And the results that we got, again, encouraged us to you know, that this would be a good idea. And so a couple of months later, end of January, beginning of February in 2014, we started building the platform. Again, built it from, you know, Alan, who's my husband, coded it from, you know, from the first line of code, started looking at what this should look like and what would we want, what's a basic MVP, a minimal viable product. So, you know, what would the basic product look like that we'd launch. And then I spoke to our helper back in Johannesburg and asked her, you know, again, just bounced the idea off her, asked her if she knew people who were looking for work, who'd be interested in this type of thing. You know, it wouldn't be permanent employment, but it would mean, on the other hand, that they'd be well paid, they'd have flexibility in terms of where and how they work. And she was very, very excited about the idea. And so then we went about building it, and she told a couple of her friends, and people just started coming to our house, knocking on our door, ringing the doorbell, because she had told her network, and now people who were looking for work were coming to us.
And then so you register them on your platform.
Register them on
and
the platform.
Then you market them, the
That's
services
right.
they provide
Absolutely.
to the client base. So there's a portal or something like that which people come to.
That's it.
So if you need a cleaner pronto temporarily for 3 hours, you connect SweepSouth.
You go onto the site and you can access it from your laptop, your phone, a tablet. It's very easy to use, so we've designed it with a very simple user interface. Our aim was for someone who's never used something like this before to be able to complete a booking in 3 minutes.
And how many cleaners do you have on your system?
So we've got about 400 at the moment who are active, but we have waiting lists of thousands of cleaners who are just waiting to be interviewed.
And where do you operate now?
We operate in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Pretoria.
And funding, was there ever a cash problem along the way? Because I learned you had to go to crowdfunding and get some of the angel investors to come to the party.
Yes, so we were bootstrapped in the beginning, so we used our own funds, and that pension and the home and all of that money disappeared in about 1.5 years. And then we went to a pitching conference, pitched, and found some angel investors. So some well-known people in the South African tech ecosystem, Vinnie Lingham, Polo Hadebe, who's also a well-known investor, Pule Tokobong, who invests in African startups. And they were our first investors. And so we were lucky to have them on board. They're very experienced. And then later on that same year, we started the Silicon Valley's 500 Startups program, which also came with funding. And following that, now we've closed our most recent fund with Edge Growth.
And of course, you know, growth for startups is something to guard against, as much as that's what you're aiming for. So you've got, it's like baking a cake, isn't it? You know, don't put up the heat too much, but make sure that it's balanced right, okay? Yeah. You need a little bit of heat, but not too much heat.
Yeah, so you never want to make sure, you want to make sure the wheels don't fall off.
Yeah, and that must have been part of the threat, the risk in your case, That here you are, you've got so many people who want to be on the platform, but you can't take more.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
So we're a two-sided marketplace, which is also complicated, because on the one hand we've got cleaners who are on the platform, and on the other hand we've got clients. And it's important to balance it so that you're not upsetting either side. So too many cleaners and not enough clients, and cleaners are not getting jobs. Too many clients and not enough cleaners, and people are frustrated because they're not able to book in the most convenient way. And so that's been quite tough to balance, and it's a tough thing about marketplaces in general, about the model. But you know, behind the actual site, there's a lot of things running, and there's a big sophisticated engine that uses a lot of mathematical algorithms to work out that balance between supply and demand. And then obviously we're also looking at not growing too quickly in general, because we're a small team, and we've got to keep things in check.
And of course, the money side, you're beginning to make money?
We made money from our first day. So from the first day that the company was operational, we made money, and we make money with every booking. And the company is, like many on-demand companies, it's not yet profitable because we're focused on growth. So the funds that we get, we fuel into the business and to growing the business.
And growth prospects, I mean, you're growing at what rate?
So we're growing double-digit numbers month on month. And in terms of geographical expansion, so we are looking at the 3 cities and really cementing our presence in those cities, launching in 1 or 2 other cities in South Africa. And then for us, the solution that we've solved is it's a very common emerging market solution. So we look at things like transport problems, people using public transport, infrastructure, and where cleaners live compared to where clients are based, and trying to shorten that distance.
Let's get to a few clients here, people who might want to use your services. I'm inclined to test drive them as well. Where do they go?
So they go to SweepSouth.com. Again, the entire booking process is online, and they go through a very quick booking process. They fill in their details, let us know what type of cleaning they want done, and as with Uber, you pay with a card. And you use that card to confirm your booking. Once the cleaning has been complete, the payment is then processed, again similar to the way that Uber works. And then after the booking, you are asked to rate the cleaner, and the cleaner rates you as well. So it's a two-way rating system, and clients can't get away with being bad clients because cleaners are also rating.
A lot of return business, I suppose.
We have a lot of return business.
All right. Well, Aisha, well done. Congratulations to you and your husband, and good luck to you. In 24 months or less, company has now got 400 cleaners on their books, and that's how you grow the economy and create opportunities. Thank you very much for coming here and spending time with us.
Thanks for having me on the show.
And this is the founder of SweepSouth.